Hello and welcome to the Engerati Studio here at Itron Utility Week. We're now joined by Angie Klee, who's the Innovation Manager at Itron Idea Labs. Angie, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for making the time and joining us on this raised pedestal here. Angie, you're part of Itron Idea Labs. And before we go into some of the specifics around what you guys do, tell us a little bit about the value of innovation for Itron and the value for the business that comes out of your lab.
Right. So Itron Idea Labs is dedicated to bringing new businesses to Itron. So this means innovation is absolutely critical to us because we're thinking of what's happening in the next 5 years. We're looking to our partner community, we're looking to innovators within Itron, as well as startup communities to really find the nuance of what people are thinking about and where we should be in 5 years. So innovation is extremely important to us.
And do you do that because working in this sector, it's almost, you need to prove the use case. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's quite hard to do with a utility because they need to do the 999s uptime and so on. So by you going out there and creating these demonstration products, you can then bring it to bear and say, here's what we've done, this is the value for you. Right. Is that the thought behind it?
That's right on. And in fact, they're keeping the lights on. So while they're doing business as usual, we're working to create new opportunities for them. And these, every piece that you hear today in the open sessions was about, innovating new frontiers that we are actually a research and development lab for our utility partners. So they may not have the budget to do it, they do have many responsibilities are critically important, so we can take key individuals from that company and really be their arm for some of this work.
So in theory, someone could come to you and say, hey, we think this is a good idea, but we haven't got the budget for it. And if you guys at Itron say, well, hang on, this would be a great use case to solve, you'd then go ahead and do that.
Absolutely, and we have customers approach us all the time with, have you thought of this? Are you doing this? And a lot of the incubation we do is based on customer problems. We really tackle what the problem is and what we can do to solve it. We don't pick technology first. We focus on the business. How will this change and shape their business? And then technology comes much later in the process. We might do prototyping or field testing with our customers. And if we have something that's a match for other customers, that's when we take that product to market, which we've done in the past.
So you have perfectly set me up for the next question.
Excellent.
And the next question is this. Can you just share with us some of those products that have been through the journey?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit from the beginning about what was the value that it was trying to create, what was the business case it was trying to solve. It'd just be great for the listeners to hear the genesis of how this works and then how products come in, because we were talking off air as well with the recent acquisition of Converge, right. Now Itron DEM, how that has had a role in one of those things. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking, I'll let you talk.
Absolutely. So I can share first, one of the reasons I was brought into Itron, I came from high-tech community, but my managing director, Roberto Aiello, said, can you find out what utilities want to do in mobile? That was a very broad and general statement, so it set me on a journey, and at that point an entrepreneur in residence, where I asked utilities questions, I interviewed, I visited, and they came with a clear objective that for mobile, they wanted to see meter reading on a smartphone. So I work closely with the product marketing team here at Itron and with Rich Layton, who's responsible for that area, and we built, in 5 months, a smartphone meter reading app that actually was field tested with our customers.
So this is a meter reading app for the utility engineers?
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Right.
So
okay.
these are field service workers. Yeah. And what we did in terms of an Idea Lab standpoint, we proved that there was a need for it, that they could do it, and it could be received well into their business. And it is, last year it was actually rolled into the release of a new Itron mobile platform, which has, drive-by and walk-by and all types of other offerings within that. And we actually, at this year's Utility Week, have customers using the product, using the smartphone app. So we took something in a very short amount of time, proved it, and then the team within Itron developed it, a very awesome team to do that.
So short amount of time, what, a year? Or?
Well, 5 months to
5
develop
months.
the
Right.
prototype and test in the field, longer to integrate it into the overall solution because we had more to consider than just the app, and the teams that created that had to look across and create the whole platform. So the app was one delivery of it, but it was injecting innovation into existing business process that may happen later in the time frame.
And why were the DSOs asking you for it? I mean, what were they trying to solve? Was it this issue that they don't want their field service people to have 20 different tablets, and
Absolutely.
where's the money?
Well, I think they see, the power of the device, and when we come into solutions like this, where we're looking at IoT and how various devices are transforming our lives, they're all carrying a smartphone. They, wanted a lighter form factor, and they didn't really need to do, the type of things that they used to with our larger handheld devices. That, it made it much simpler for them to do their job. So that's part of, again, injecting innovation into a process. So that was a successful Idea Labs project and accepted by the business unit, and we consider that a big win for us on both sides.
And when you crunch the numbers, I mean, what theoretically could a distribution network save by, say, pushing everything onto a smartphone rather than what we've had in the past? What I've commented on is like, all this plethora of devices,
Right.
Where one does like 5% of the job, and then you've got another one.
Absolutely. So it saves it across, less devices purchased, more computing power on that platform, and less the fact that we have to develop new hardware to add features, that we're developing software so we can actually, add additional apps onto the platform. We can enhance the ones we have without having to always worry about, a new hardware device which has much longer lead times and cycles. So, and again, because they have those devices, they're using them today, it's maximizing the utilities investment in something much smaller that will continue to get faster and better and provide more computing power for them that we don't have to worry about developing.
So in an order of magnitude, maybe $400 or $500 per field worker.
It could be,
Yeah. Something like that.
Right. And you had mentioned the question too, and we're very excited about the Converge and new Itron Distributed Energy Management Company, because some of the new work that I'm doing now in the solar area actually takes, behind the grid, behind the meter, and also all the way to the consumer. So we really have an end-to-end opportunity to create new businesses and innovate, and I'm very excited to work with the Itron DEM team.
And what are you doing there with that with that project? Again, you said that people come to you and they say, here's the problem that we're trying to solve. Can you give us a bit more about the problem that project is trying to solve?
Sure. So the area is solar, but actually our solar leasing customers, which we do sell to solar leasing companies today, needed to have revenue grade metrology from solar production. So initially we started with kind of listening to their needs, developing prototypes, understanding that we could actually put a hardware device between the inverter and the solar panels and other devices in the home. Well, as you can see from the industry, solar has become a very big interest by utilities, not only in their own solar farm purchasing, but their residential, and the knowledge of the supply and demand of energy to say, what are residential customers doing? What are they doing with batteries in the home, electric vehicle charging? So it became even more paramount that we have a solution that actually helps them, again, create awareness about that solar production, but also provide them the control and visibility into consumers in the home.
So this box is behind the meter?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And on the solar panel, and it does monitoring, or does it also do voltage control and normalization? Or
We are exploring all
Right.
options with that right now, and we're working on a pilot where we'll have 100 devices, and we can actually, work with new solar tariffs, determine how we can best manage electricity coming out of solar production, being served back to the utility, and then also distributing that energy within the home and truly making the experience good not only for the consumer but also for the utility. So it started with solar leasing. We've expanded it much more broadly, and we're really excited to work with this product.
So the first use case on it is really providing resolution into. Nah, I want to say power quality, but let's leave that for a second. Resolution into the type of generation that's happening, generation patterns, and so on. So
Right.
you can do that. And how are the customers in this pilot taking it? Are they receptive of the idea? What's the value to the end customer for having this box in their home that's looking at stuff?
So right now we're doing employee pilots, and we're gathering data and information and building our models. We're working with our consulting and analysis group to figure out what's best. So we've not yet installed on our pilot program. So I'm anxious to hear, as we do in Idea Labs, we're listening to not only our utility customer, but the end consumer about their experience and how did it feel to have the utility control their battery or their electric vehicle charging patterns and their thermostat, which they do today with our Itron DM team with demand response. And
So is this a corroboration of the fact that a lot of distribution services companies are saying that actually we really need to build this digital trust with our customers and get these devices into the home, because if we don't, I remember talking to a friend of mine who runs a distribution system in Germany. It's like going, if we don't get this type of control, if we aren't allowed to do that, the net effect to us is that we may have to spend 15% more on strengthening the grid
yeah.
than if we get to use it. Is that the crux of the problem?
It really is, and to truly understand that supply and demand, and maybe I don't have to build another power plant if I can manage the energy I'm using today. So I would agree with that assessment, and I feel like solar and everything is not going away. Any distributed energy resource.
Well, it's getting cheaper, so
It is
it's
getting
gonna.
cheaper and more
There's more of
prolific.
it going to
Yeah.
come, right?
Yeah.
So, are there any other projects that you're thinking about that? I know we've gone into some depth on this one that you're thinking about, that you're really excited about. That again, it seems like a lot of your projects about this edge intelligence and predictive things. Is there anything else that you're working on?
Well, in Idea Labs, we initially developed some OpenWay Riva dev kits for our own team to work with Riva. We started to see that other customers internal to Itron, they also needed these dev kits, which would simulate, being able to do work on OpenWay Riva. Then we had partners coming to us, and suddenly we realized that we have a community of interested developers for OpenWay Riva. So I think that's another exciting genesis of a project in Idea Labs that started something for us that now you see on the show floor here at Itron Utility Week in the Knowledge Center, that we actually have partners who are using these dev kits to develop solutions that will work on the OpenWay Riva network. So I'm very excited about that. We've got a couple new products, the Riva Dev Mini kit, which is a smaller form factor, that can fit into things like streetlights, which we have to show here today, and then a low energy version of the development kit as well. And we've launched the OpenWay Riva Innovator, and you'll see here at Utility Week that we have plaques for partners who have actually done that, and we will continue to foster that community, developing a certification program, and really engaging with those partners. So we're very excited about that.
Because it's quite a unique thing that Itron are doing. I know last year there was a launch of the platform. I know it's been going for some time. But are you seeing, is the reason for doing this that actually we can't do all the innovation, and the bigger we have a partner ecosystem, the better? It's a bit like an app store, right? You say, here's your toolkit, go and do it. What are some of the more novel products that you've seen that have come out of that, which have been built by a partner?
Well, I'd love to showcase Omron, who has added their own earthquake sensor to this, and we have a wonderful demonstration that they show of a gas gate that shuts off automatically once earthquake is detected. So using our OpenWay Riva Dev Kit, adding the appropriate sensors from Omron, we're able to detect and shut off gas, so saving lives in this demonstration.
Which
and
is a
real
huge issue in
application.
an earthquake, right? You don't want to have
Absolutely.
gas coming out.
Yeah, and every gas utility here would say they're concerned about it. So I'd like to see innovation like that. So that's a very interesting project. Of course, our streetlight vendors and some of the projects we're working on with Urbanova in Spokane area, using streetlights with additional sensors, but working on the OpenWay Riva network. So we have those devices and any sensor you can dream of that might, be interesting, air quality and that type of
Well,
thing.
that's another big thing about extending it out to the municipal ecosystem and utilities, not just being. I mean, we've got an in-depth interview with them later on. So thank you for mentioning that. It's a great teaser.
We all sync up.
It's a great teaser. I mean, just a final question to you is: it's like, how big do you see this trend of, the municipal and utility combination, and how important do you think an open platform like this is to make it happen? Because traditionally you'd say, oh, you got to do all of this and it's a big huge engineering project, whereas now it seems to be like, here's the platform and when you're ready you can plug different bits in.
Right. I think that's critically important, and Itron is very involved in smart cities initiatives around the world. And I think once you stop thinking about the silos of how that city is going to be built, and you think of the backbone that OpenWay Riva provides, you understand that it's really about the city's vision and the people's vision. It's not one utility or another. It's kind of a shared vision, and we can all benefit from that shared network and sensors and streetlights, and it becomes truly, not a vision, but a reality, as we're seeing with some of our partners today. So I think it's incredible.
Perfect, Angie. On that note, we'll leave it. Thank you very much for watching this interview. Many more to come from Itron Utility Week. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.